Welcome back, everybody, to episode 59 of the Clappercast. It is September 1st, 2020. I'm Burke, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sean. How's it going today, Sean?
Oh, doing pretty well. I actually remembered to set my microphone to be the recording thing this week, so I don't sound like I'm a radio show call-in.
Yeah, and I've been fighting my microphone all evening here to try and get it to work. So between the two of us, we're audio engineers.
Oh, absolutely. Top tier right here.
So, why don't you take us away on our first topic for the day?
Yeah, so we've been treated to some excellent hockey action here for the summer, and I want to start us off with this Boston Tampa Bay series because this has been a pretty interesting one to see Tampa Bay finally seeming to turn a corner and being able to take down one of the beasts of the East.
Yeah, it's hasn't really gone how I thought it would go. Tampa's kind of shit stomped the Bruins a little bit more than I thought they might have with that. What was it, like 7-1 or
7-1.
8-1 game? Yeah,
7-1. I mean, that was bad for their rookie backup goalie too. Just get thrown in like that.
yeah, that was a rough one for sure. And then they bounced back and played in another 3-1 loss. So, I mean, if you can want to count not getting scored on 7 times a bounce back, then it is
Yeah, that's an improvement.
still lost. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like Tampa Bay's done an excellent job all series of controlling the play. Like this is something that they struggled with in the past, where they really easily get dominated. You see big guys like Kucherov and Stamkos were very often just kind of getting triggered and a bit rattled really early on in a series, and it threw their game off the whole time. They're not doing that this year, and they've got Braden Point stepping up as well. He's really filling that void left by Stamkos while he's injured.
yeah. I thought it was interesting that Cassidy called out Yaroslav Halak. He let in that one kind of softy goal where it was like that one timer just in from the blue line, basically on the rush, and he kind of like handcuffed his glove and went in. Cassidy was like, "Oh, we need that save there." I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
kind of
"Well,
yeah.
you
You don't
do
want to be
need the
calling out your
save, but
goalie.
this guy's the guy that's like the backup who stepped up to play when your primary starter has left the bubble. Maybe you shouldn't call him out because your only other option is a rookie goalie who you just threw into a game and let him get pumped. So, kind of a questionable coaching move. It's like, well, yeah, maybe you do need that save, but I don't think publicly calling out your starter is
No,
the way
not
to
in that situation.
turn it
Like
around.
you've got a team that's struggling. You don't want to start publicly calling out your players in the playoffs when you need them to turn it around. You need to like actually give them the support and the encouragement on that side of it to help them, possibly turn things around or at least have a bounce back game. Because you don't in the playoffs, you lose 7-1. You got to come back in that next game and do better than they did.
Yeah, and yeah, you need the save, but also if you watch that play, the defensemen are playing super soft on that. They're allowing them to just walk right in the zone and then take a free shot, basically unobstructed. So
Yeah,
yeah, you need a save, but you also need your team to play with a little bit more desperation than what the Bruins have been doing.
exactly. And I mean, on the topic of D-men, let's flip it over here and look at Tampa Bay, where they've got a couple of castaways per se in Kevin Shattenkirk and Zach Bogosian. They're guys who kind of got left behind by their other teams, kind of picked up as fill-ins for Tampa Bay. And you've got Shattenkirk, who's actually playing a pretty big role in the team this whole season. Him and Mikhail Sergachev had been playing together for quite a bit, and they'd been doing well. I think Sergachev was with Chernak today, but that pairing had been doing pretty well. So that's props to them for being able to find these players and fill them into a role, put them into a system that's actually going to help them thrive a bit better.
Yeah, and you mentioned Zach Bogosian. He's been playing with Hedman, and he
Which
had
that
that
like
one.
that's a pretty good honor.
Yeah, he had that one play where he basically went almost coast to coast up the side and then passed it across to Blake Coleman. There's kind of a funny sound clip where Kyle Bukowskis asked him, like, what was the last time you've gone coast to coast like that? And he said, oh, probably yesterday. It's like in practice, you know.
Dreamed
But
about it
yeah,
overnight.
I mean, maybe that's just a case of a different system really benefiting a player and allowing them to
Yeah,
utilize their strengths a bit better.
absolutely. I mean, it helps too when the team itself is better as a whole. You're going to be a little bit more able to make an impact in those types of cases. But yeah, I mean, a system that works
One
better.
more, sorry, one more defenseman, Luke Shen and
Luke Shen.
Braden Coburn.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were able to step in after not having played since the break of play, and they were able to play some minutes for the team and actually look pretty responsible. So
oh, of course. I mean, to get Luke Shen to look decent is actually itself.
hey, interesting story. I went into a pawn shop that's right by my house like yesterday. Signed Toronto Maple Leafs Luke Shen jersey.
Did you pick it up?
What in the hell? Where did that come from? Kind of weird, but just had to throw that in there.
Oh, of course.
Very bizarre. So
Um,
anyway, as you were saying,
yeah, so Tampa seems to be doing this thing where they're rolling with 7 defensemen throughout their games. So I think Luke Shen it kind of falls in as like the extra guy. Okay, so next up we've got the New York Islanders versus the Philadelphia Flyers. So this one's currently sitting at 3-1 for the Islanders in the series total. And I got to admit, I underestimated the Islanders once again. That seems to be a common theme. We've had this happen in the past. I think last year I did the same thing.
I feel like we did
But,
that earlier this playoffs too. It's just
Oh, probably.
misunderestimate them.
Well, it's like you look at their roster, and it's not filled with stars. It's not like a Philadelphia Flyers roster where they've got Giroux, Couturier, Carter Hart, Niskanen, like or Provorov, pardon me, but they still managed to make it work, and they're doing really well. So it's a testament to how strong their roster is in terms of the team system, and they're playing like that kind of new age trap it's working for them because they've got everyone bought into it.
Yeah, you really see it when you watch the games. It's just the Flyers cannot get any passes going, and they're just getting shut down in the neutral zone. And yeah, the Islanders are playing a really really good defensive game. I mean, I kind of touched on this about when I gave my kind of you know eulogy for Todd Reirden, but the Islanders are just a solid defensive team, and it looks like they've all bought in, and that's what it takes to get far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So they're not exactly fun to watch, but they do capitalize on their chances when they get them. But they kind of like wear a team down and just stymie all of their attempts to get any offense generated, and then it's kind of like rope-a-dope hockey, where they just shut
Yeah.
everything down and then take their chances when they can get them.
Yeah, exactly. I remember we talked about this trade when it happened back at the deadline, but Jean Gabriel Pageau for the Islanders has been an amazing fit for them. He fits in every situation. Like his playoff scoring rate is so much better than his regular season rate. So he's been doing an excellent job for the Islanders so far.
Yeah, and the one game that the Flyers won, we should mention that they won that one in OT, and it was right after the Islanders came back and tied it up in forced overtime. They were down, I think, 2 goals or 3 goals, and they came back in the third and forced overtime and just barely lost. So this could have really easily have been a sweep.
Yeah, which would have surprised me even more, to be honest.
Yeah, but all the goaltenders in that series have been playing pretty good. Carter Hart has had some struggles, but they've played Brian Elliott for the Flyers. He's looked pretty good. He's got a really cool mask.
Honestly, though, is the Flyers side of it, is Carter Hart even struggling, or is that just the team in front of him can't get stuff going?
It's definitely the latter. The team just can't get him any run support. They can't score, and I think part of that's explained by the defensive system that we explained just a little moment ago about the Islanders, but also Semyon Varlamov has been really good, and then Grice actually played in the last game, and he's looked sharp as well. So they've had some solid goaltending.
Yeah, I think at this point the Islanders goalies are 1 and 2 in playoff save percentage this year.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, it's either of all goalies or goalies that are remaining in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some really good goaltenders still around, so that's impressive either way.
Absolutely.
When you consider that Vegas has Leonard and Fleury.
Yeah, and Leonard playing the way he is too. We'll talk about him in a bit, but for the Islanders, like that's a massive part, a massive support system for for the whole system they play is that they can have a goalie who makes the saves that they end up needing to make. Because they're not giving up a lot of high quality chances, of course, because they're shutting everything down, but they're still getting the reliability that they need out of that position. And it's top and bottom. It's literally, it's not like they have to run one guy like some teams do. They can have either of them play and be completely comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's a really luxurious spot to be in when you can have confidence in either guy. I think there's some other teams that are in playoffs still that have that. I mean, obviously Vegas, but I mean, you look at Boston, no. You look at the Canucks, no. Dallas, if Ben Bishop ever comes back from wherever he is,
yeah,
maybe, but without him in their lineup, no. So it's really kind of just the Islanders and Vegas, I would say, that have that luxury right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even Colorado, like Francouz, yes, but Grubauer's, Grubauer's hurt. I don't know. So without him in the lineup, they don't really have that luxury either.
I think it's going to be interesting because I mean I fully expect at this point the Islanders to win. So it's going to be interesting to see the prominence of this new system or the modern trap or whatever that they're starting to play, to see kind of which other teams try and implement that type of play style again, kind of the same way that it happened with Minnesota and New Jersey around the early 2000s.
Yeah, if that's the way the league's going, I'm not super excited about it.
Not again. We already went through this once, right?
We just need teams to have Martin Brodeur so he can play the puck.
Exactly.
And then have the trap. Like, wow, what an exciting game of, like, shut down the dump and chase.
Remember that game, like, you used to play as kids where you get one person throwing the ball to the crowd of them and call it the score? It's just going to turn into that.
Did you remember that game where Chris Pronger was on the Flyers and they just literally, like, held onto the puck in the defensive zone to shut down the trap?
That's in my mind every single time I hear about this. Yeah. That old 1-3-1 thing.
So the Flyers should just pull that out in one of these games. Just play in the defensive zone and just hold the puck until the ref whistles it.
At this point, what have they got to lose? You know, they're on the brink of elimination. Why not try something to like at least piss the Islanders off?
Yeah, might as well. That's canon for Flyers hockey, right? It's just
piss them off.
Can't win. At least piss somebody off.
Yeah, they came into the league pissing everyone off, so why not just continue with that trend?
They have a long-standing tradition of pissing people off. You gotta stay true to your roots, Philly.
So you're mentioning Pavel Francouz earlier. So how about we jump out west here to the Dallas Stars Colorado Avalanche series? So we were talking a lot about this one before we went into it, and the big news from our discussion was that you flipped your prediction from the Stars to the Avalanche. So how are you feeling about that one now?
Feeling like a mastermind, because my pick was Dallas to win the cup. I guess I should pick against them more often, and they'll play like absolute gods.
Right.
So
yeah,
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Of course, I'm surprised at how well Dallas is playing right now.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about it basically ad nauseum about how they can't score, and what do? They just score in bunches now. They just score in waves. Like They get 7 in a row, sure. 3 in a row, sure. Like
3 goals in 4 minutes. Yeah,
really
why not? That's our
watch.
Nightly thing. Yeah. Yeah, the thing that stood out to me is that in the regular season, they're 26th in goals for per game at about 2.58. And in the playoffs so far, they're 3rd, and they're up to 3.38. So they're scoring 0.8 goals, more goals per game than they did in the regular season. And this is also factoring in those round-robin games where they didn't score at all. They had like 2 goals in the entire thing or something crazy. So they've done an amazing job since that middle of that Calgary series of turning that offense around.
Yeah, they really have. It's been really fun to watch, and I'm fully on board with it. I love it. They're really exciting to watch. I mean, they're playing against Colorado, which makes it even better, because it's like another team that can score in waves again. But it's just kind of come out of it's a bit surprising with Dallas, considering the stats you mentioned and where they were at in the regular season, and it's really been like a lot of depth guys that have been stepping up for them. It's not really the top three guys. I mean, they're doing some stuff, but the Guryanovs, the Joe
Matthias
Pavelski.
Janmark and Rupe Hintz have had really good series here too. That they're
Radek
up in the
Faxa had
top.
a really good game.
Faxa, I think that's the game I was thinking of
last night.
So in this series too, Jamie Benn's got 7 points, Radulov's got 6, and Sagan has 4. So like they've stepped up big time this series, but like you said, it's the depth guys that are helping them. Colorado is
they're
not
pushing
getting
them
those
over
depth.
the edge.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like every game I watch, there's a new graphic at the bottom for like some sort of record that Miro Heiskanen is setting for like a franchise record for most points by a defenseman in so many games, and it's basically like, okay, we get it. Like every game he plays, he's adding one game to his totals, and he's setting the new franchise record. It's like most points for a rookie or a defenseman making his debut in Minnesota / Dallas North Stars history. He's like, okay, 16 games, he's got so many points. He's number one, and then it's like 17 games, he's got so many points, he's number one. It's like, okay, we get it. Like every game.
I can't wait until like the last game of the playoffs that they play when he sets the record for most records set by a Dallas Stars defenseman in his debut.
But I mean, it is super impressive. Not to downplay what he's doing. He's got the same amount of points as Kucherov and Braden Point.
That's just outstanding numbers in his debut as well in the playoffs.
Yeah. it's pretty fun, and I'm pretty sure no matter what happens, I'm just gonna get a jersey of his because
honestly. You're going to regardless, so yeah. It's nice to have the like conditions to meet, but it's like it's gonna be one of those things where it's like I'll just give it to you anyways. Just take it. I'll get one.
Yeah. You set franchise recorers for defensemen making their debut, so I'm gonna get your jersey.
Congrats.
I guess. Yeah, but 13 games, 16 points. So very impressive.
It's impressive as hell. Flipping it over to Colorado, so they've kind of struggled this series. What are your thoughts on what's going on with them? Why are they struggling?
Well, I mean, it looks like they're making some. I mean, they're getting into a little bit of penalty trouble, and there's some people who disagree with the calls that have been made. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens in playoffs. You have calls go either way. You've got guys that can draw penalties like McKinnon, and Kadri's got to stay out of the box.
Yeah, he had trouble in that most recent game they played where I think he was in the box for the first 2 goals against, and that really set the tone for the game when you're giving this Dallas offense a power play like that early on.
Yeah. But it looks like they're kind of been shaking off their game a bit. You've got guys like Cale Makar making that really big blunder where he just bobbled it right behind the net and let it go right into the slot for a really easy goal for the Stars.
Yeah. That was a Steve Smith moment.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but it looks like they're just kind of, for large moments of the game, they're just not playing their game and letting Dallas score in those waves. And then you see them come back to it, and they're able to kind of claw their way back into the game, but it's really hard to come back from, being down 3-0 in the first period. So I don't know if that's like a mental thing, or they kind of thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was, because most people were picking Colorado for this series. Most people didn't think that Dallas would have an opportunity to win this. So I don't know if that comes into play, and then Dallas just came out super strong and kind of, surprised them. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think is kind of one of the reasons?
I've been leaning towards that loss of Philip Grubauer and even Eric Johnson.
Yeah.
Like they've lost.
That's a good point.
One of the best goalies in the league. I think Grubauer is about 5th in save percentage going into this series in the playoffs so far. And Francouz is just not up to snuff for them. He is not as good as they need. I think his save percentage is down in the 800 somewhere. They need better out of him, and not having Grubauer around is destroying their confidence in the momentum swings that Dallas can grab off of being able to go and score goals at will, basically. You got to imagine Grubauer would at least have some of those.
Yeah, that's a good point. That their goaltending definitely has kind of been subpar. but they are a team that can score a lot of goals, and they're being outscored. So
Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, Colorado's depth. I think McKinnon, Makar, the main guys are doing decent, well enough. But you've got your depth guys that haven't really been able to contribute in the way that they need to.
yeah, I mean McKinnon's 21 points in 12 games.
Yeah, 8 in this series as well, I believe.
But I mean, to kind of kind of counter your point a bit about the goaltending is that not counter your point, but to just kind of play the other hand of that is that Anton Hudobin has been really good. He's been really good in net for Dallas, and Dallas is also missing their number one goalie.
Which they're lucky that Hudobin is as good as he is, because those two are
goaltender.
Yeah, they've got a better backup. Like Dallas's tandem is one of the best in the league. It's up there with Boston's generally. So they're lucky that Hudobin's playing as well. And finally, Hudobin's getting some run support.
Yes. Yeah. The picture of him with his helmet off, having just been scored on, is a distant memory.
Yeah.
Having happened
he finally
doesn't
have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, people always kind of thought Dallas would have this scoring touch with the top line that they have, and it's kind of exciting to see them kind of realize that potential a little bit and have guys go on some incredible runs like Gurionov is.
Yeah. Well, they have such an exciting roster. Like even beyond the star power, it's like the players that they have. Like they should be more aggressive or more like stand out-ish in the offensive zone than they had been. But this is finally kind of like a coming out party for the Dallas offense that they've struggled with for a couple of years. Yeah,
I remember in my my preseason write-up for the Dallas Stars, I said that one team's garbage is another team's treasure, and Dallas was collecting garbage this offseason because they've signed Corey Perry, Sekera, Joe Pavelski. Not that these players are garbage, and I'm not saying that, but teams, well, maybe Corey Perry, but
I mean, you said it.
But guys that were kind of on the way out with their team and bought out by their team, like Corey Perry, and Dallas took some chances on them. So some relatively cheap deals, 1-year deals in the case of Sekera and Perry, and a 2-year deal for Pavelski. And the leadership that those guys bring, I think, takes a lot off of Seguin, Ben, Radulov.
Yeah,
and it's you can see it on the ice. You have Pavelski, who's a huge playoff performer. He's able to get those clutch goals, so it's not all falling on the shoulders of Jamie Benn and Seguin. So it's been fun to watch, and I know that you're not a fan of Corey Perry, but he's actually been making an impact on this series by drawing penalties. He has drawn quite a few penalties in last night's game. McKinnon took, you can debate the call, but Corey Perry did a really good job selling it. So in the heat of the moment, it looked probably worse than it actually was, and he was able to draw a couple other penalties, I think, against Kadri. So he's making an impact.
No, it's the thing. Like those types of players, the Corey Perry type, they're annoying as hell and frustrating to watch, but they're effective and they're good in their roles. They know how to play the game within the game. They know how to use those gamesmanship factors that we talk about Matthew Tkachuk having. That they can swing momentum, swing the team, swing the game in your favor just by taking a weird route or drawing a penalty that probably shouldn't have been called. So that's great for them. And you mentioned the leadership that all those guys bring. I remember being concerned that it was going to be kind of one of those like too many chefs in the kitchen situations, where you've got all these guys with leadership experience. I mean, Pavelski being former Sharks captain, and Perry probably having the A throughout his time in Anaheim, and Sekera being relied upon defenseman in Edmonton for a lot of the younger guys. You kind of wonder if it's going to be too many voices, too many different directions. But no, it looks like they've all gelled together pretty well, and they've got everything sorted out in that way, which is great. And it seems to be working because they're turning things around and succeeding right now.
Yeah, and Pavelski's kind of one of those tremendous net presence guys where he's able to get a magical tip on pretty much anything that someone fires at him. So that's been really effective for them, just to put him in front of the net on their power play and just have him get a stick on anything that's coming in towards the net. But definitely some young guys, stepping up. We mentioned that in some of our other podcasts, but Dennis Gurianov again is having a really, really great playoffs. Heiskanen, their defense has been pretty solid as well. Klingberg, Lindell, Jamie Alexiak, solid. Just a lot of trustworthy defensemen that you can kind of throw out there whenever you need to. And, Miro Heiskanen's averaging I don't know, what is it at this point, 40 minutes a game or something?
I think
it
we're
looks
around
like 25, 46,
25,
but, that's a lot. And he's, 20, 21? 21. So that's those some very impressive numbers. So basically, I'm all in on a jersey.
Now you're just excited for it.
I am. Yeah. Got to try and find a deal.
So now we'll switch things. Oh, go ahead.
Quickly, though, because we both picked Colorado, I think, in 6 or 7, right?
6 for me.
I mean, they're on the brink right now. So what do you give their shot of coming back?
They might get one game, but the way Dallas is playing, especially if they're going to be able to go out and score a goal a minute into the game, Dallas is probably taking it. I mean, I guess we're recording this the day before it's released, so I think they're playing the game tonight, but I would be surprised if they're done by the time this episode is up.
And last but not least here,
we've got the Vancouver Canucks and Vegas Golden Knights. So for the only series that we've actually got going the way that we predicted here, not doing great this round, but Vegas is currently leading Vancouver 3-1 at the time of recording. And this has actually been a really fun series to watch and pay attention to, because it's got a lot of the side games going on. It's not just the hockey. There's a lot of extra stuff going on around the series, namely following Ryan Reeves and Antoine Roussel. And it's now involving Vancouver's coach as well, Travis Green.
Yeah, they're definitely going back and forth. Antoine Roussel has gotten himself 2 10-minute misconducts, making him the penalty minute leader for the playoffs.
And Ryan Reeves, through all of this, has 2 penalty minutes. So he's doing a great job at just getting under the other player's skin without actually doing anything wrong himself.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising that they just gave Roussel a 10-minute, but I mean, my opinion is that they were kind of soft. But we have no idea what he said or did or what warnings he was given. So whatever, it's not like he's gonna get out there and get a hat trick for Vancouver anyway. So if he rides the pine for 10 minutes, it's 2 shifts if that for him. So I don't think it's making a huge impact on Vancouver or Vegas's game, but it's definitely shows how effective Ryan Reeves is at, like you said, getting under people's skin and bothering them, even the coach.
It's something when you can get under the skin of the coach.
And that one was after Ryan Reeves hit Quinn Hughes in the Vegas corner, and then Vegas led to a turnover, and Vegas went down the ice and scored. And then I guess Reeves was chirping the bench on his way by, and then Travis Green was yelling at him, and he said, shut the F up. And then Reeves was doing a crying, gesture with his hand. So, yeah, I mean, just because Quinn Hughes is a really good player doesn't mean he's off limits. So,
No, I mean, the guys you have to, I don't want to say target, but go after is the star players. They get the most attention by the players on the ice. You shut down Quinn Hughes, you shut down Pettersson. Suddenly the Canucks don't have as much gas in their car, right?
Yeah. And Hughes is going to pinch in that far on that play. He came basically down to the hash marks. It's he's going to get hit on that. That's a no-brainer. So, yeah, you mentioned Pettersson, though. He hasn't been the problem for the Vancouver Canucks.
No, not at all. No, they're main guys. I mean, Pettersson, Toffoli, Pearson line has been excellent for them. They've been one of the few things going right through the series. So it's just a case of Vegas is just better. That Vancouver's high flying style does not match up against Vegas's structure.
Yeah, Vegas has just got a solid team. I don't want to say that they're a super team, but the fact that their original top line of Carlson, Marchessault, and Riley Smith is air quotes cheap. And they have been able to bring in like Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, like Alec Martinez, Robin Leonard. Like it's just insane if you look at the talent that's on their team.
Yeah.
It's
Teams don't get this many players brought in like that. And you mentioned Pacioretty and Stone; they're sitting at 5 and 6 points respectively in this series. So like they're matching up well and they're overpowering, winning the matchup in that regard.
Yeah, and you made an Instagram post about this today, but Shea Theodore has just been rock solid for them.
He has done an
on the
amazing
D-line.
job this season, and this has been his breakout year. Really, that he's done so well at jumping in and becoming basically the number one defenseman for the Knights, and he's pretty much a legitimate number one guy in the league now. The way he's been playing. So we're looking at some stats here for him. In the playoffs so far, he's got 4 goals. He's tied for first among defensemen. 10 assists. He's tied for third among defensemen. 49 shots on goal, first for defensemen. 88 shot attempts, second for defensemen. And the most important part, especially for Vegas' system, is that when he's on the ice at 5 versus 5, 61.4% of shots are in Vegas' favor, and high danger scoring chances are 71 to 34 in Vegas' favor, and they're outscoring the opposition 19 to 6. So Shea Theodore, being top pairing defenseman, is able to match up against the Canucks' best players and outscore them with his line at a rate of 19 to 6. Like that's Vancouver relies on those top players, and if those players are getting outscored, they don't have much of a shot left.
His impact, I don't think can be understated. It's just massive. I just wanted to point out here for points among defensemen. So you mentioned Theodore has 14. That puts him at 2. Heiskanen's first at 16. Then Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes are tied for third at 13 points. So it's everybody's been kind of gassing up these young defensemen, but like here's the proof is in the pudding, right? Like they're really making an impact in these playoffs. They're
and for
becoming
them to be that
the guys
high up on their own, right? Yeah, they're becoming the guys. They're becoming star players in the league, and they're all doing it in the playoffs right now, which is impressive as hell.
Yeah, like I foresee like just all of the Norrises down the road. Just these 3 guys will be in contention probably, like at least in discussion every year.
Just gonna rotate through them every year, same way it's gone through
Hedman,
like Hedman, Carlson, Doughty, basically I think are the main.
Yeah, the big
Eric
Burns.
Carlson, I might add.
yeah,
and Brent Burns. So it's just gonna rotate through them the same way it's been rotating through those guys.
Yeah. On the flip side, I don't want to criticize, but I want to just point something out. So did you watch the game last night between the Knights and the Canucks?
I did not.
Okay, so it was Tyler Myers' first game back. He missed I think he hasn't played since like middle of August or something. It really showed, and it showed in a bad way for the Canucks. He looked really shaky. And
he was out of it. I saw a picture of him defending a Golden Knight where he just 2 feet away of a guy in front of the net, left him all alone.
Yeah, that was I think that was the dagger for the Canucks. It's just like not playing the guy in front of the net, and he just gets a super easy pass. And that was William Karlsson's first goal of the series, and Myers was just not playing him in front of the net. It's just like
so Marc-Andre
really
Fleury
soft.
pulled a sword out of his back and then put it right into the Canucks in that game.
Yeah, all the Tylers in the lineup for the Canucks. Tyler Myers, I guess, lost his ability to defend. I think he was out there for, I want to say every goal, but I could be mistaken on that. But he just looked really bad. I was thinking to myself, just put Jordy Ben back in, honestly. Like, he looks
at least he's
way
reliable.
more solid. Yeah. It's just like stop making like stupid little soft plays up the boards and just looking completely lost. Just not where he should be at all.
Yeah.
So that was pretty rough. And then Brandon Sutter had a really poor game too, and I think that might be stemming from the fact that he's playing on a line with like 2 other centers, and he normally plays center, and he's not. so he's playing the wing. So that would be really hard to do. He's playing with Beagle, and I think he's been playing with Gaudette a bit. Might be playing with Tyler Mott actually, but either way, Beagle's been playing center, and Sutter has been playing wing, and there's been some chance or some goals against where it stems from both of them kind of not knowing where they're supposed to be, and I don't know, it just sucks for the Canucks that they have got some less than ideal options for the lineup when you've got like Brandon Sutter making, I want to say, like $3.5 million, and then you've got like Louis Eriksson making $6 million, and it's just
that makes it hard for cap space when they're gonna have a lot of guys to re-sign and to try and fill out a roster right away.
Yeah, you look at Vegas, and it's like, is there a bad contract on that team right now? Fleury,
but even then, at least Fleury's a useful part of the lineup.
Yeah, so it's just like I was saying, I don't want to call Vegas a super team, but it's just like you look at it, and they're just stacked compared to the Canucks. For the Canucks to make it competitive, I think it's impressive, but I think, yeah, this is kind of the one where it is going the way we thought for the reasons that we thought.
Yeah. Looking ahead to possibly a future matchup, when you have the prospect of the aggressive trap that the Golden Knights play versus the hesitant trap, or whatever you want to call what the Islanders play, could be an interesting final. and based on the way the teams are playing, it's a very real option. The only offense is going to be the Vegas Golden Knights doing those flip passes down to Mark Stone.
Or Tuck.
Yeah.
Getting him on a breakaway.
Getting those, yeah. That's going to be the only offense in that series.
We mentioned Pettersson briefly, but, definitely they've got some huge silver linings in this. Pettersson has shown that he can be a clutch playoff performer. Bo Horvat, just amazing. They've got some solid bottom six guys who are contributing that they probably want to keep around but don't overpay. And then Jacob Markstrom, you got to keep him around. He's the guy. He's your MVP. He's been playing really well.
They absolutely do. So they need to find a way to make room for him, because he's the type of goalie that they need right now, and I don't know if Demko can be there quite yet for them.
No. And at the beginning, when we did our little preview of this series, we said that the pressure's not really on the Canucks. So if they get taken out by Vegas, that's okay. Like,
there's no shame.
I know
in
you never want to be knocked out of playoffs, but no one really expected you to be here. So you take the playoff experience, take the excitement, and just carry it forward into the next season. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch. It's interesting that every series is at 3-1.
That's actually pretty crazy that none of them even went 2-2. None of them, no sweeps. Like, they've all got the same trajectory here. So maybe as a little final thing here, which of these four series do you think the team with one win is most likely to come back and win?
That is a good question. I would say Philly. Philly would be my guess. If they can, in the past, Philadelphia has been a streaky team, and they've gone long stretches of playing poorly and then turning it around and going on a long stretch of their own. So I think if Philadelphia has some sort of spark and they can turn it around, that I would put them as the most likely to turn it around. How about yourself?
Well, I was going to say Boston, but I just needed to make sure we were what the score was. So Boston's losing 2-1 with about 7 minutes left in the third. So I'm going to probably switch that over to Philly as well. Because I don't see Colorado having the goaltending to be able to counter Dallas right now. And I don't see Vancouver being able to overpower Vegas' system the way they did in that one game where they won 5-0. I think Vegas kind of has this one. The momentum of the series, they've got this one kind of locked down a little bit better. So I'll have to go with Philly as well, since Boston appears to be on their way out right away.
Yeah, so I guess this round is just really just us agreeing on everything, hey?
Pretty much, yeah. You know what? We're all here. We're all friends here. We're not gonna start fighting each other about stuff.
Yeah, for the things that really matter, like who can come back in a series. When both of our teams have been eliminated and we have no skin in the game except for stupid jersey bets.
Go sports team. So that wraps things up for this week here on Clappercast. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to our show on any podcast platform, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. To keep up to date with our latest content, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Clappercast Media or on Twitter at Clappercast. Start the conversation on our post there and let us know which team is surprising you so far in these playoffs. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back soon with more NHL playoff coverage.